Good evening, everyone. I call this meeting of the Burlington County Board of Chosen Freeholders to order. Please rise for a flag salute and remain standing after that. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Father, for all the blessings you have bestowed upon us, for the great resources of this land and for the freedom that has been its heritage. Help us to be receptive to the thoughts and challenges that come to us through prayer, through the printed page, and from the world around us. We ask this in your name. Amen. Amen. In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, this is to announce that adequate notice of this meeting was provided. I direct the Deputy Clerk to enter into the minutes of this meeting, this public announcement, and the advance written notice of this meeting. Freeholder Arter. Present. Freeholder Belgard. Here. Freeholder Howard.
Present.
Freeholder Schwartz. Here. Freeholder Director Donnelly.
Here. Thank you. At this time, I'll entertain a motion for approval of the conference minute meetings of January 9, as well as approval of the annual reorganization meetings of January 1. So moved. Thank you. Moved by Freeholder Howard. Is there a second? Second by Freeholder Arter.
Mr. Donnelly, if I can move for discussion on the meeting of January 1st.
I'm going to go without the motion, just discuss.
Okay, thank you. So I had a clarification for letter F, where it says that the oath was administered by the Honorable Rob Andrews with regard to Joanne Schwartz. I know down below it does say that it was administered by the Honorable Cory Booker, but I just wanted to note that.
Yeah,
Okay,
I saw that as well.
And then I did just have a clarification with regard to J. It's noted that I voted no to all three resolutions, which I did. I just wanted to clarify that that was done by consent order, and had it not been done by consent order, I would have only voted no for the temporary budget, which is you and I discussed after the meeting related to the line item of $2.6 million for Buttonwood. You were good enough to call me about it afterwards, and hopefully that'll be rectified, obviously, in the permanent budget.
Anyone else? Hearing no further discussion. All in favor, with those minutes as modified. All in favor, so indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. At this time, we have a presentation from Atlantic City Electric.
Thank you so much for coming out tonight. I'm Mr. Brian here from Atlantic City Electric, and Mr. Reed, our county fire marshal. And this is the second?
Actually, we've been doing it for 12 years.
12 years.
This will be the second time that we came.
That you've come before the board with it, and
Right.
we think it's an important program. We wanted to give you the opportunity again this year to come this evening. If you want to give us a synopsis of what it is you're doing.
Sure. It's mentioned it's an annual activity we do. It's an annual get-together with the Fire Marshal's Office. We've been doing it for 12 years now. To every county fire marshal within our footprint, we give away smoke detectors to families that need them. Since we've been doing the program, we've given away over 21,000 smoke detectors. This year, we've given to the fire marshal the standard smoke detectors as well as smoke detectors. This one right here for the hearing impaired. Just happy to support your fire smoke detectors.
And it's my understanding they're also our wall light smoke detectors?
They are, yes.
Yes.
So no battery replacement on these. They last for 10 years.
And we're going to be utilizing those for our senior communities, so they don't have to be getting up and down the road for a smoke detector battery change.
That's great.
Yeah, so we greatly appreciate your service to our community, and we will make good use of them. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. One shot for
At this time, I'll open up the meeting for public comment on agenda items. items. If you have something on the agenda you would like to discuss, please come forward, state your name and address. Seeing no one dives into that opportunity, I'll close this portion of the meeting to the public, and we will move on to resolutions. At this time, I move for unanimous consent of resolution items numbered 1 through 5.
So moved.
I move it.
Second.
Moved by Freeholder Galway, seconded by Freeholder Armstrong.
Mr. Donnelly, if I can make a motion to remove items 1, 2, and 4 from the consent agenda for discussion.
For discussion, not for, well, we're pulling out anyway. Pull out public session. Is there a second for that motion?
Second.
Second. All in favor, so indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, let's move to discussions of numbers 1, 2, and 4.
Okay, so with regard to number 1, I looked at the bill list, and I have a couple questions. Not too many considering the number of bills, so I don't know who I address these questions to.
Mr. Troy.
So on page number 4, I don't know if you have the same bill list in front of me, and in front of you as I do. Okay. On page number 4, the entry at the bottom, the American Legion Post 146, what is that for?
I believe that was supposed to be used for the elections.
Oh, okay. On page number 9, the third entry, which is the Bass River Township Community Library. Can you tell me what that entry is for?
It's, I apologize, it's grant money that's given to each one of the libraries.
Okay.
Each member library gets a grant money.
Members.
Each member library gets a grant amount
Okay.
from the town.
So we're just awarding the grant money to one of them at this point? Is that why only one appears on the,
That's only one.
it's not all done at the same time?
No.
Okay. And page number 13, the first entry, the Burlington Insurance Commission.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you just describe for me what that is, please?
Um,
Not the
basi-
commission, but what that entry is for.
Basically, this is the Burlington County's, this is the Burlington County share that goes into the insurance commission. And this is our payment, we make 3 payments a year.
Okay, great. So that's all I have on the bills. On the expenditures, on page 6, I had a question, and Mr. Stewart was good enough, I don't know if he's seating, but seated. Okay, but he was good enough to answer this for me, but I just wanted to make sure that bond interest payment, it's just over $500,000, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's a one-time payment for one bond, is that what that is?
It is for that bond issue, and there'll be recurring payments for, I think that bond was for 15 years.
Okay, do you know what that bond was for?
I'm not specific on that one.
Okay, but we won't be paying any more interest on that bond again this year?
Not this year, it's an annual payment that's set by debt schedule.
I think that's all I have on item number 1.
I have some questions on item number 1. I've been looking at the summary of revenue and expenditures, and the staff is kind enough to help me with some of these things. On the revenue, there is $30,523.69 listed as indirect costs. Do you know what that represents?
Indirect cost rates are basically set by our consultant in conjunction with the Office of Finance, and basically an indirect cost is brought in by revenue. It's usually charged to a grant. All grants have included in there the ability to charge indirect costs. Indirect costs are for such items as rental space, lighting, etc. And basically, we bring that into the budget through a revenue anticipation.
And I had also asked about the Kintock Group, which you were all kind enough to explain to me, but maybe you could also explain it to the audience so everyone knows what that is. The Kintock Group, which is where it's
Bill?
That would be received from the group that they lease the facility out across from McConnell College, the post house facility. They lease that to provide drug and alcohol treatment services.
And on the expenditures, there's an awful lot on listed for overtime, and I know that the department heads are very nicely working on that and doing trying to bring that down. However, there's some significant numbers for overtime, and I'm wondering, have those numbers been, how much overtime has been budgeted? You may not be able to answer tonight, but just for the month of January, do you know if we're on target or are we already over for overtime? There's a number of departments that are incurring overtime.
Frida, what we've basically done is, because we're in the continuation budget, we've taken those numbers and moved them forward to this year, just to use as a basis. We have not budgeted overtime per se. We are incurring costs right now and paying them. However, there's a directive out to all department heads to curb overtime and make all efforts. Most of that overtime is, again, in the institutions, the 911 call center, public works when necessary.
So we do not budget any overtime dollars?
Not at this point, because we're still in continuation.
But
So
how
we will budget them once you pass a budget. Right now, what happens is the accounts go into the negative, which is allowed to go on salary accounts, and then once the budget is passed, we will fill those accounts back up, and whatever dollars have been allocated for overtime, we will put in there as a positive number.
So how will the department heads know from reading this whether they're on target or not, if we don't have a budget?
We send reports out. I get from data processing. I get bi-weekly overtime reports. Basically, what happens is I go through them to see if anything extraordinary there. They are then sent out to the different department heads for their comment and action, with the goal again to try to reduce overtime where they can.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Number 2.
Okay, thank you. On number 2, I just had a question with regard to the pesticide contract. I just wanted to confirm that any costs for Buttonwood and the police academy will be coming out of that contract.
Well, this was before the police academy.
Okay, I wasn't sure about that, and I know that there was a notation that Buttonwood is coming out as well. I just wasn't sure about the police academy, right?
Right.
And then I think this is a question actually for Mr. Nelson. I have to abstain with regard to Republic Services, so do I just make that a note at the
That
time of
particular
voting?
item, when it comes up, when Director will call for the floor against abstentions, you indicate you're abstaining,
Just from that piece?
just for that piece.
Okay.
You're not required to amplify that.
Great, thank you.
Number 4.
Okay. On number 4, again, thank you, Mr. Stewart, who was very good in getting back to me with lots of my questions, but I'm just wondering if, just for the good of the public, if we can just have an overview of what the positions are that are being created and or abolished, just briefly. Or not so briefly, whatever it takes.
There's positions being abolished, there's a position being abolished in the Health Department and recreated in the Human Services Department. When we created the Human Services Department, my staff and I put one too many positions over there, taking them out of the Health Department, so we have to reallocate one back. Another position is a create and abolish due to a civil service issue in the Health Department. There are 2 other create and abolish items on in the Public Safety Department. One happens to do with a promotion, and the other happens to do with a downgrade of a position. And I think there was one other department where we had a create and abolish. Finance, thank you. We are abolishing a couple positions in the Finance Department and creating 2 new positions. The treasurer's indicated that for as long as he's been the treasurer, he's wanted to do more analytics, so he's asked for a couple of positions to do analytics.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir.
All right, at this time, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor of resolutions 1 through 5, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
I need to abstain just from number 2 with regard to pesticide. Otherwise, I'm in favor of all.
Is it pesticide or is it Republic Services?
Oh, I'm sorry, I said that one. Yes, Republic Services, I have to abstain from. Pesticide.
Thank you, and so noted. Freeholder Arden.
At this time, I would like to move resolutions number 6 through 9 for unanimous consent.
Thank you. Is there a second? Moved by Freeholder Arden, seconded by Freeholder Howard. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, so indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Resolutions are adopted. Freeholder Howard.
This time I would like to move by unanimous consent resolutions number 10, 11, and 12.
Thank you, Freeholder. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Freeholder Howard, seconded by Freeholder Harder. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, so indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Resolutions are adopted. Questions for the press? Thank you. Are you press, sir? No, okay. You're at the press table, so I just wanted to make sure. Love to get Mike the apple. Public comments. At this time, we'll entertain public comment on anything you wish to talk about. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record. We are open. Right here.
Good evening, my name is Cynthia Adams. I'm the president of the Burlington County Institute of Technology Education Association. Our members and I are here this evening to bring light to the fact that we have worked a year and a half without a contract. We feel that in light of this, we want to negotiate, we want to go back and settle this fairly and equitably for our members. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comment? Yes, sir.
My name is Chris Nicolidis. I'm at Misfield Drive, Medford, New Jersey. Last night I was at the council meeting for Medford Township, and I asked a question where we stand with respect to the library. This is the Burlington Library. I don't know if you have seen it.
I'm here today.
Small little library, almost like a house, with maybe half a dozen parking spaces next to it. A year ago, when I was at the meeting, I had asked again where do we stand relative to what is being done with maintenance, etc. at the library. And I was told that the council was working with the freeholders to establish a new contract. Last night, when I asked the same question, I was told nothing has been done. The council is still awaiting a response from the freeholders. It hasn't been put on the agenda to be discussed. I was wondering if you can shed some light on that.
I'm the freeholder liaison to the library system, and we've had several meetings with Medford, and we are in the process of working out that that new contract. But you would not see it on our agenda because those agreements are negotiated between the library system and the branches. So ultimately, whatever agreement is negotiated will be negotiated through the library commission and Medford. So as the freeholder liaison to the library, I have had meetings with Medford council people, and I believe that you have a new mayor now, but the mayor who was in place last year.
It's the same council.
It's the same, but you have a new mayor, he was now as a councilman. And we have been working towards that. We've been doing this in concert with a review of the entire library system, so maybe taking a little longer.
More than a year?
Well, when we met in meetings, we were talking about helping Medford in 2013. So we are now in 2013. We are working on a new agreement between the library system and Medford, and we're working towards that, and we're working with the library.
All right. But I just want to make sure that you understand that Medford is paying about $1 million to the state for to the county.
Yes.
Paying $1 million to the counties, and I personally, looking at our library, I'm not very proud of my $1 million. So I like to see some action here.
And Medford pays to belong to the entire county library system, of which Medford Library is one of the branches. And we are also very concerned about making sure Medford residents have adequate access and facilities there. So as we're reviewing the entire library system in Medford in particular, we want to make sure Medford has the facilities and the resources that that you need to meet the demand for the programs and library usage in your area, and that is our concern as well. And one of the things we're looking towards addressing, not just a stopgap measure, addressing fixing gutters or things like that, but we want to make sure the residents in your area have access to a library facility that will be adequate to their needs. And we're looking to address that as well, and that is a concern of ours as well. Because we understand people are trying to sign up for programs and there isn't enough space. And people are being turned away from programs, and we want to make sure that does not happen. So that is our concern as well. We want to make sure that the library has the sufficient resources it needs to meet.
I think that getting to a point where the council and yourselves feel good about the program together would be a nice thing.
I
Rather
agree.
than seeing some of this going on. Thank you.
Any further public comment? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Roberta Wolf, and I am from Medford also. I have a question. Whose jurisdiction is the library? Is it Medford Townships or is it the county?
Medford owns the
The building.
building. Medford owns the building.
Right. Who's responsible for the maintenance?
Medford Township. In every single agreement that has been signed between the Library Commission and Medford, the township is responsible for the maintenance of the building.
Okay, so then I, as a resident of Medford Township, said the county of $1 million a year, not myself, I wish I could, but I can't. How do we get that building repaired?
Well, yeah, if I may jump in. Our staffing costs in Medford alone are $522,000 a year. That's just to staff the building.
We pay for all the
We pay for the
payroll.
staff.
We pay for the we pay the staff salaries.
Okay,
We
well,
buy
they're county employees.
Right,
Right.
that's,
Okay,
We buy.
well, the library employees, and that $1 million that Medford Township sends over to the county,
right. Okay.
$522,000 comes directly back in salaries immediately.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, your budget is $900,000 for payroll, so more than almost half of that goes to Medford Township
No,
for that library?
9 million.
No.
9
Yeah,
million.
9 million.
So not nearly half, roughly
Oh,
5%.
okay, okay, I misunderstood, I thought you said that. Okay, so, all right, 500,000 for salaries.
522.
You have no one to put light bulbs in? None of that?
We have, the county has a workforce that maintains county properties.
Mm-hmm.
Cinnamon Township has a library, a branch library, much like Medford does.
Mm-hmm.
They have a workforce that maintains Cinnamon Township's library, even though it's a county library.
Okay, all right.
Burlington Borough maintains the library.
Mhm.
Evesham Township maintains their library. They're all part of the county library system now.
Okay.
Hamilton Township maintains their library.
So then what's the purpose of negotiation then, if you're just saying, well, you know, it's Medford Township's problem?
No, we're not actually saying, no, we're not there. We've actually, they've put a letter.
We understand that Medford has issues with maintenance costs and a budget gap. And we have put forward to the council that we would reimburse just for 2013 up to $30,000 of maintenance costs. And that we would put that into this upcoming agreement. And it would be a one-time stopgap measure to get through 2013 as we evaluate the facility and look at, is the facility itself able to meet the needs of the community? Do we need to look at another location in Bedford to open a library that's able to meet the needs of the community? Because as we're going through this process, as we've made known to Councilman Pace, that we want to look at the whole system and make sure we're not just, putting our finger in the dike. We want to take care of the issue. And as we look into this more and more, we realize there's a large demand for services that facility may not be able to meet. And so we want to work together and come to a resolution that is able to meet the needs of the community.
Okay, so is this gonna be done sooner or later? How soon is this gonna be done? Because there's things that need to be done in that library. We have to come to some kind of an agreement somewhere.
No, I was there today. I spent about an hour there this afternoon, an hour to be in the facility. We have an offer out on the table that we will reimburse expenses on that building. for 2013 up to 30,000. My understanding too, there was a volunteer group last night that came to the governing body's meeting, and I talked to some of these folks.
Yes.
You know, willing to do work on their own time, on their own effort. I mean, in this day and age, anybody's willing to step up and volunteer. I would think you'd want to take advantage of that opportunity. But that is a decision, I mentioned that earlier, it does not rest with this body, as we do not own title. That would be like me coming over to perform some work on your ass. You may like me to do it, but the reality is I don't have the right to do it.
Right, exactly.
So, I mean, that's kind of where we are. We have this offer out there.
Okay, so it's basically back in the township again, is what you're saying.
I'm not going to say it's on the
For now.
township. I think we just need to get together and everybody realize we have a one-year opportunity here. That's what we have. But it's reimbursable. It's not the county going in to perform the maintenance test on a property that we don't own.
Okay, so if the volunteer group goes in and they start to work and God forbid somebody gets hurt or God forbid they don't fix something right, something falls down and hurts somebody in the library, Medford Township is responsible for that, correct?
I'm not an attorney, but, and I don't know, I'm not an attorney, so I couldn't tell you the answer.
Well, if they own the building, I would think they are.
Yeah, just to us talking, sure, but I'm not an attorney, so I couldn't answer.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I need to enter my name for the record. Chris Guadi, I live in Medford Township. I'm also Deputy Mayor. We actually emailed a proposal to you on August 28th. And as far as I know, that's the last we've heard from the county. Now,
We had a meeting in September after that was emailed, and that's when we put the offer on the table to reimburse up to $30,000.
I've not seen that. So could we say then we could withhold that money from our next payment to the county for property taxes and apply that to the library? Would that
That would be something negotiated with the library
No, I
commission.
can't by law.
If it
So-
can't by law, it'd be.
So when are we getting a check?
Councilman, once again, what it says reimbursements.
Okay, there's a number of repairs. So what I can expect tomorrow then is an official correspondence from the county saying that we can undertake the repairs that the library requested, and that we will receive full reimbursement from the county for this year for up to $35,000.
No, up to 30,000.
$30,000.
And you are definitely going to get something
That's all I need. This is what I've been waiting. This is a great
And
thing.
we have had so much back and forth, we wanted to put everything down in writing for you to have, so we're not going back and forth anymore. This is the starting point from our position going forward. It's all written out there, for you to review and look at, and the $30,000 reimbursement is noted in there as well.
That's great, and believe me, I can appreciate some of the communication has been from employees, some of the communication has been from the governing body, and to me, until I hear something from the governing body, it hasn't happened. Now, the comment that you made about, you made some very excellent observations, that the facilities there are inadequate. And it's not just Medford Township, I mean, we've got Lumberton, we've got Tabernacle, we've got Chemung, there's a lot of different residents who use that. And frankly, our number alone is $1 million. I gotta tell you, that's about $1 million a library in there, and if you're having to pay $500,000 to staff that building, we need to work on some of those numbers, because I believe we could staff that building for a lot more. As an example, one of the areas that's expanding in universities are MLS degrees, Master of Library Sciences. I don't see any interns in there working that place. All I see are fully paid employees. Now, maybe there's a lot of volunteers, but we could have people at a professional level as well. I would like to see that staff breakdown to understand how we get to a little tiny library like that we're spending $500,000 in salary. I work for a pretty big company, and it takes us quite a number of employees before we get to $500,000.
Fully loaded?
Well, see,
Health, pension.
there you go.
Well, that's not right.
And we're all struggling with that, and believe me, when you mention that, I get it. You know, we're having the same sorts of issues where the public sector salaries and benefits, and it just, unfortunately, it's not in balance anymore. It used to be that public sector made a lot less money, right, than the rest of us did in the private sector, but they got the great benefits. Now they're making more money, and they're still getting the great benefits. And unfortunately, it's put us who try to govern in a bad spot. But I'm glad, I feel like we made some good progress here, and I'm glad to know that we can authorize those repairs and get full reimbursement. So thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Any further public comment? Yeah. Hearing none, I close this portion of the meeting to the public, and then I'll turn to freeholder comments. Freeholder Schwartz. Good. Freeholder Bill Larry.
Okay, thank you. Well, first I want to say thanks to everybody who came out tonight, because this is a good crowd, so thanks to everyone who came out and participated. It's great to see so many people in the audience. I also want to thank my friend Steve Stern in the background, who is videotaping our meeting tonight. I had spoken to Freeholder Director Donnelly about this a little bit earlier this evening. At our last public meeting, we had a gentleman who asked us about the potential for televising the meetings, and there was some talk back and forth that might be difficult, but you know, after I left the meeting, I thought to myself, well, you know, at the very least, we could videotape the meetings and put it out there as a link with modern technology that we have today for people to be able to take a look at, to see what goes on at the freeholder meetings. It's obviously the biggest county in the state of New Jersey. Not everybody can make it to Mount Holly on 7 o'clock on a Wednesday night, and my hope is that you know, after we take a look at Steve's video tonight, hopefully get it up at least on YouTube, maybe this is something that we as a board can consider moving forward with, and you know, regularly taping the meetings and maybe getting them up on our county website, so that we can allow our neighbors in other towns that may not be able to get out to the meetings to be able to see what we're doing here at a county level. I also want to thank people who came out and spoke about the library tonight. I had been the recipient of a couple emails and a couple phone calls about it, and having just gotten involved, you know, I didn't even know about the offer that had been made prior to joining the freeholder board myself. So I'm glad to see that we're making progress there, and hopefully we can get things ironed out. Also, thank you to the employees who came out and spoke up tonight. I know that I'm hearing across the board of contracts that we need to get to the table and work on for employees throughout the county. So I want to thank the folks who came out and spoke up tonight. Thank you.
Just wanted to say, Monday was Dr. Martin Luther King Day, and had the opportunity to spend the morning over at the Second Baptist Church in Mount Holly with Reverend Timothy Hutton and many other people from like 8 in the morning to like 12 in the afternoon. And it was a great chance to honor the late doctor, and also it was a great breakfast in the morning. A lot of sharing, a lot of talking, a lot of ideas. The organization also extends an annual award program which honors 7 individuals this year throughout the area that do a lot of work in the communities, and they have been doing for years. Like one individual was 30 years. So it's nice to see that stuff, and it was really a great time to get together with a bunch of people to talk about people who serve, and I think that was one of the things that a lot of the schools are doing nowadays, is they're talking about service days instead of just being off doing something for the communities, and some of the kids are doing that. And one of the areas that they did something was over in Medford, and I think they got together and they cleaned up Dr. Still's house and the house secondary to him, and it was covered in the paper. And I would love to see more communities get involved in that stuff, because it brings out the youth, it brings out the kids, it brings out the kids that didn't know what the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was and what the Voting Act of 1965 was. And I think a lot of that is lost in transition today. And I think as people who lived through that, I was just a young boy at the time, 9 or 10 years old, but at least I went through that. I think if we have responsibility to those kids at a younger level that need to hear that from us, because if they hear that from us, that sense of pride is instilled in them, and that brings the community back together again. And I just love to continue. I'm going to continue to be involved in that program. I love what Medford did over there at that historic site, and I'm hoping that other communities did the same thing. And I would offer my support to any community out there that needs to get things started. Just give me a call, and we'll see what we can do. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, sir. Very well.
Thank you, Director. Thank you to the union for coming out this evening and making us aware of what's going on, and we will follow up with your institution. And thank you also to the representatives of Medford for coming out and talking to us at the library. Thank you for allowing us to have some direct dialogue, and I look forward to continue working with each and every one of you moving forward with the library system. Thank you.
On that note, I think it's pretty much all been said. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Did you move it? Moved by Freeholder Dunbar, second by Freeholder Howard. All in favor, so indicate by saying aye.
Aye.